Hey, I'm Brian Van, SportbikeTrackHere.com, and today we're going to install a set of driven captive wheel spacers on our 2017 STGR6 project bike. Okay, we're going to start on the back. In order to do this project, to install these, you're going to have to be able to remove the wheels from your bike. It's going to require having stance. Got it up on the Woodcraft adjustable rear right now. All right, take that off. Pull the axle. Like so. Need to get the chain off the sprocket. Like to roll that over, let it drape over the side of the swing arm. Roll the wheel back. Then I'm able to take the caliper out. If you want to come over here on the other side, Steve, I can kind of show that real quick. So when this was in there in the hanger, I was able to roll the wheel back a bit, then lift up and slide this out. We're going to drape that over the side of the swing arm. And then we've got the wheel off. Come on over to the cart. And now we can go ahead and remove the OE wheel spacers and install the new driven captive spacers. Okay, so I pulled the first spacer out here on the cush drive. We'll use this to determine which one goes where. Okay, and this is a match for that. Always keep this, don't throw that out. I'm gonna clean this up a little bit. Look at how dirty his wheel is. I love you, buddy, but come on, man. We need to get Ryan some Maxima cleaners, keep this bike a little cleaner. Those yellow wheels look pretty, but they look a whole hell of a lot better when they're clean. Okay, you don't need to get too crazy there. Right, at the end of the day, it's grease. I'm gonna use a little more, I got a little all-purpose here. You wanna make sure that the seal is well lubricated internally. Okay, cleaned out the old stuff, got some new clean stuff in there. And you install it with the lip inward. Okay, that's how it's held in there. Push in, and you want to pay attention to the lip of the seal and make sure that you do not have it rolled inside permanently. Okay, see how when I push that down, you see how that lip kind of worked its way back out? Go all the way around the spacer and make sure that the lip of the seal is over the edge of that wheel spacer. We'll go ahead and clean off any of our excess grease. We'll flip the wheel over and we'll do the other side. Okay, on to the other side. Go ahead and pull this one out. It's pretty clear to find the replacement here, right? There's only one other one that is the same size. Go ahead and put that to the side. Same thing we did on the other side. I'm just going to clean this up a little bit. Ryan's actually coming to pick his bike up today, so this is going to mark the end, if you will, of this project. It's actually a lot of fun. It's the first time we've done it like this, where the motorcycle belonged to somebody else. And you can bet he's going to get an earful in regards to the state of cleanliness this motorcycle is currently in. Even though he did have a little crash, that's nothing but an excuse. He still had time to clean it. Okay, same deal. Make sure the lip is on the other side of the seal. So some inward pressure and downward. All right, and then look all the way around it. You want to make sure that that is seated all the way down in there, okay, which it is. Now, with this particular one, okay? This will migrate around a little bit, but it's going to be held in place. So it won't just fall out when you're doing your tire changes. The captive part is pretty cool. It makes your tire changes a little bit easier. Another thing that's really cool is, well, they're anodized red and they look super bitchin' on the bike. Okay, I've just got the wheel resting in place now, and I want to show you another little trick. I'm going to clean the axle off. This axle actually is pretty darn dry, okay? I like to use the Maxima MPPL. I want you to think of this as WD-40, but better. I used this on some trailer hinges I had that were seizing up and making all kinds of noise that I had already sprayed a whole can of WD-40 on, and it didn't do shit. The dude from Maxima, Garrett, told me this stuff's for sure better, and you know, I always take that with a grain of salt like anybody would. So I went out and I sprayed this all over the hinge on the trailer, and you bet your ass it stopped squeaking. They're definitely making some good stuff over there. So that's just a light coating, okay? That's just enough to keep it lubricated. Go ahead and drop that axle block slider on it. It is very important after you've done this, you do not allow this thing to lay in the dirt, okay? You do that, you're gonna get debris on it. It's gonna cause it to hang up. It's just a mess. Okay, now we're ready to get the tire in position. Start off with our caliper. I want to dip this thing in there, make sure that you have it installed correctly in the swing arm. You're going to kind of roll it forward like so. You get the pad started in there. Come down here, your wheel spacer. Make sure that that's going to clear. All right, that looks good. Spacer on the other side also looks good. Roll it forward. Just grab a hold of that chain. Okay, now we're good. We need to lift up and put the axle in. I'm going to come over to this side, grab a hold of the wheel, lift up, just get the axle started. Come on over here, let's take a look. Wow, look at that. Man, that thing lined right up. That's money. Get it to clear the chain adjuster here on this side, like so. Got my rubber mallet. The other axle block slider back in. Make sure you check your chain tension when you do this, okay? Now's the time that you'd want to do this kind of thing. This is already known good on this bike, so I'm not going to do that. But I'm going to encourage you to do so. And get that axle nut started. I'll run that down, just finger tight. Show you another little trick here. Once I've got that started, right there, just to the point of where it's ready to be torqued. I happen to have this 6mm T-handle in my hand. I'm gonna wedge it in between the sprocket and the chain, the rear sprocket. Roll it back like so. Now I'm gonna smack it. The whole point there is to make sure that we have the axle blocks all the way against the chain adjuster bolts, okay? If you don't put that forward pressure, these could be loose. If they're not contacting that axle block, they could actually work their way loose, creates a whole disaster. Trust me when I tell you, you don't want to experience that. So there's a couple of little tricks and tips for rear wheel service. And now if you want to come from behind Steve and just take a look, and I need you to put his dirty wheel out of your mind right now. I want you to pretend the wheel looks great. And look at that, just that little hint of red in there. I gotta tell you, that alone is reason enough to install these in my opinion. Okay, now we're gonna do the front. I at least still have a front pit bowl stand. My rears, the last rear I gave away with the R1 when I sold it. Okay, same process. We need to remove the front wheel. You know, this video actually will serve too if you haven't done this type of service to your bike before. That was pretty friggin' tight right there. If you haven't done any wheel service, removed them, reinstall them, you can use this video as a guide to help you get that done too. We're gonna need to loosen up our pinch bolts. We've already got our axle nut off. Both calipers have to come off the bike. You have a bike like this that has calipers on each side. To remove the wheel, each of the calipers has to come off. Same gig over here on the other side. All right, let those drape to the side, get the pinch bolts over here, and that axle's ready to come out. The two spacers in the front are the same, okay? So we're going to pull the stock spacer out, just like we showed you with the rear. Take the opportunity to clean away some of that excess dirty grease. Use just a little bit of new grease to make sure that that seal is not going to be dry. And then we'll install that captive spacer using the same method that we did for the rear. Really important that you go all the way around it to ensure that the seal lip has not been left rolled over upside down. That looks good. Clean off the excess. And repeat the process on the other side. You see that the OE one, it just literally comes right out, zero effort, okay? So the advantage of a captive spacer is if you're doing tire changes with any frequency, it's nice to have something that holds itself in there a little more firmly. When you're taking your wheels over to the tire guy, so on and so forth, you know, it's just nice to have them captured in there. Or if you're me, it's just, you know, hey, they look so bitchin' because they're red and you get a little extra bling. And I don't care if people make fun of me for loving bling. I even love jeans that have a lot of jewelry on the back, okay? If I was a chick, 100% I would wear Miss Me jeans. Nothing but, exclusively. Because I like bling. I love bling. I love unicorns. Same deal, boom. We're gonna check the seal. Yeah, it was rolled down there just a little bit. I don't know if you guys know this or not, but Video Steve's really tall. And oftentimes I'm doing these projects literally in his shadow. Wipe away the excess, like so. Okay, and now we're ready to come on back over to the bike and put the front wheel on. Okay, so putting the front wheel on. Can you put it on backwards? The answer to that is, you bet your ass you can put it on backwards. take a look at your spokes, okay? If you see the open end of the spoke rolling forward, guess what? Well, that's not good. Closed end of the spoke. You look on the wheel somewhere, there's probably a direction arrow as well. Most tires will have a direction arrow on them. I would personally trust the wheel more than I would trust the tire, because odds are at some point that tire has been or will have been replaced. For the axle, same thing we did in the rear. Okay, you want to lubricate this one too. Wiped it clean. Like so. I don't really want to get this portion greasy because that needs to be held inside of the fork bottom there. Make sure those are in all the way. I'm going to lift this up, guide it back, and slide that axle right through, like so. Okay, first thing I'm going to do is put the axle nut back on. Okay, not going to tighten any of the pinch bolts, nothing yet. I'm going to start with the axle bolt. I'm going to get it finger tight. Grab my ratchet. Still, I have not touched the pinch bolts, okay? I'm going to hold the axle on the other side. My finger, see if it's rotating, which it is not. And I'm going to go ahead and torque the axle. Click right there, factory spec. You prefer a torque wrench? Go ahead and do that. But still, once again, what you don't want to do is, especially on this side, don't tighten these pinch bolts and then try and torque the axle, okay? I always begin to torque the axle with the pinch bolts totally loose, because you want to make sure that it's able to sandwich everything together and leave no gaps, okay? And you don't want the pinch bolts fighting you while you're doing that. Go ahead and torque these down. Even torque. You'll notice that I kind of, continue to go back and forth just a little bit. It's because the torque from one does influence the other a little bit, okay? Calipers, slide them over. A little tougher with the stainless braided lines on. They're a little less flexible, especially when you're using all of your OEM mounts. Okay, get that in position. Finger tight only to start. I'll explain why here in just a minute. I'll run them all the way down, finger tight, and then back them off just a touch. And then at the very tail end of this, I'm going to spin the wheel, use the front brake master to get the calipers all pulled in the line, hold the brake lever, and then I will torque each caliper bolt. Okay, both calipers are just a little bit loose, okay? I'm going to go ahead and notice I spun the wheel and then depressed the brake lever to stop it from spinning. Now I'm going to get each of these caliper bolts torqued while holding the brake lever. Do that on both sides. That just kind of gets everything centered up real nicely, because there is just a little bit of play in between the body of the caliper and those bolts. Very important before you ride the motorcycle, okay? Make sure anytime you've had that front wheel off that you torque. Everything torqued. Obviously double check, triple check. and then pump that front brake lever up. Do not ride the motorcycle until you know you've got good pressure on that front brake lever. Safety hazard for sure. Now, the spacers will be held in place when you remove the wheel and go to do a tire change. Just more convenient. And you gotta admit, they look really cool on the bike. So there you have it. This is our driven captive wheel spacer install on our 2017 Yamaha R6 STG project bike.